Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for max effort bench press day. And benching was a little tough today, and it was surprising to me because I felt really good. But one of the things I noticed when I got to my floor press, definitely I'm feeling my chest more and more and more, and I feel like a lot of this tricep work is paying off because my triceps don't feel like they're the weak link on any of my straight presses anymore. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that we neglect triceps? Absolutely not. What it means is that I need to make sure that I get a good balance of plenty of pec work, plenty of tricep work, keep working on my lockout strength because my lockout is still the weak link on all my benching, still very much the weak link, and I can tell when I mess with different chain weights as far as the ratios go that chain benching is really, really hard for me. It's very hard for me even when in theory I'm coming off the chest really well. So we're going to keep working stuff like floor presses to stay strong at the bottom. I'm going to do weighted dips to make sure that my chest gets extra stimulation. I'm going to be adding in some new bars and other stuff over time coming up here very, very soon so that we can work with some of that. But I need to continue to do additional direct tricep work. Now, the dips are part of that. Dips are going to be a mainstay for a bit because they work the pectorals and the triceps, and they work the triceps very, very effectively. It's a good combination exercise. And because I'm doing it as a secondary lift, I'm not as worried about injuries on it because sometimes when you go really heavy on dips, they can be somewhat risky. But because I'm using them as a metabolic fatigue exercise and doing, fairly high reps, 5 or more, it's a little bit different. But I noticed today after that bench, because if you guys notice, I got with 77 pounds of chains, and yes, that is exactly 77 pounds of chains, I did 295. Well, that's the same thing I've hit with 65 pounds of bands, and I felt like if I went up another 10, I might have missed it, and that's okay. I know that I have weak links. I know that my chest and triceps both need to grow if I'm going to get my bench up. I have long arms. People can argue that I don't all day long. It doesn't matter what you think. I have measurements. I know my height. I know my wingspan. The internet's opinion is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. I have to work around what I know is going on with my own measurements and what I know about training. If I want to get my bench up, I've got to get my pecs and my triceps thicker. And I know people are like, you got a big chest. Like, it doesn't matter. I have really long arms. So I need more pec and I need more tricep. And I accept that. And the only way to get there is to train them. It means extra accessory work, extra hard benching, keeping the max bench hard, doing a lot of volume on the speed bench, supplemental lifts, again, floor presses, weighted dips, tricep extensions. Everything's going to have to be pushed to its maximum recoverable volume, right? And I'm going to have to eat enough food without bulking to facilitate that growth. And it's hard when you're not gaining weight to bring your bench up. It really is. But I'm going to have to just be consistent, be patient, and take it 5 pounds at a time. I'm going to have to treat every PR like it's amazing. 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there. That's what it's going to take. So floor press, I reduced the weight slightly because I couldn't get all my sets last time starting back out with it. So I dropped down another 10 pounds. It's only 265. But I was able to do my 5 sets of 5. And they were limit sets. Like, I don't think after the 3rd set, I don't think I could have done 6 reps on any of these. It's pretty much at my limit. And you guys can see there again, I am actually still slowly getting leaner. It's taking time, slowly but surely. But, that's how a recomp goes. It takes time, guys. And I'm going to keep doing it. And that's what I have to remind people. I've been recomping this whole year. Actually, pretty much been recomping since December. And staying at pretty well the same body weight. But it's getting noticeable. So, that's been, 8 months? Well, can I keep it up for another 8 or 9 months? What happens if I can replicate the same effects over the next 9 months that I've done in the last 8 to 9 months? I think people will actually, it'll change some people's opinions. So I am practicing what I preach, and my training is on point. Training hard, diet staying on point. I'm giving it everything that I have. And a lot of this is going to have to come down to being intelligent with these supplemental lifts, which is what we're going to see coming up with the triceps here soon. You guys already got a sneak peek for that. I'm really happy with that exercise, by the way. Really happy with it. But floor presses, I noticed on these my chest was throbbing. My chest is absolutely a weak link now. I don't feel anything in my triceps on any of these movements. So that tells me my triceps are responding to all this extra work. Now, again, that doesn't mean we back off on them. We can't be lazy. It means I need more chest focus. So that's one reason the floor press is coming in, the weighted dips are coming in. I don't feel like all that incline work did much for my bench. For a lot of people, it would have. I don't know that it necessarily did much for me. I know floor press increases my bench. So we're going to work floor press for a while. And I may go back to the incline and mess with it more. But objectively speaking, I don't know that my bench is significantly stronger than it was a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Maybe not. We're not going to know until I get those chains down and test it again. But estimating off of it, I don't think that I'm good for more than a 5-pound PR on my bench. If I were to test my bench, say, next week, I don't think I'm good for more than a 5-pound PR. And that's based upon my max effort charts. So let's get more floor press in, more tricep work, and I've got to thicken my chest and triceps up more. The only way my bench is going up. Only way it's going up. But I've got plans on how to do it. It's going to be a high priority. The rowing today, 6 sets. It left my biceps fatigued. Interestingly enough, even though I'm using a little bit wider grip and I'm doing the strict stuff, my biceps were lit up. Like I felt like they had no strength left. Yes, I felt all my back and everything working, but this was particularly taxing on my biceps today, to the point to where I was going to skip my hammer curls. But then I said, no, I need to do my 2 sets. Even if biceps are fatigued, I can reduce the weight on the chain slightly and do 2 sets, because then if we count each set of rows as a half set, we need 5 work sets in a session for a muscle. 5 true work sets. 6 sets of rows is really only like half sets for biceps. And I think a lot of coaches would agree. So this is really only 3 sets for my biceps, even though they felt exhausted. I went ahead and did 2 sets just to make sure, because I know I don't care about biceps that much, but the internet cares. And again, if I get bigger biceps, it will improve my bench, especially these hammer curls. So did it anyways. Then I did something new. I've been thinking about, because I said before I was going to mess with some stuff for my triceps, some new exercises, because I was feeling a little bit of inflammation in that tendon. And what do? We don't let tendonitis develop. We cut exercises out before it develops. I'm 42. There's no room for silly shit like that. Oh, push through the pain. If you push through the pain, you're a stupid 22-year-old. That's who you are. You're not going to be training when you're my age. So I'm like, let me try this. Tricep rollouts. Let me try them with chains, because I have chains. Bands or chains would be fantastic for this. I did this first set lighter, right? This is just a warm-up to see how they felt. And what was interesting, I'm looking at the movement, and you can see my triceps working absolutely. And the pattern I'm doing, it should work. I didn't feel anything. I got up off the bench, right? And I'm like, no big deal. Let me do a second set. Let me go up another 10 pounds of chain on each side. Now, I took these close to failure. And I'm like, well, I feel my triceps. They felt like they worked. And about 60 seconds after I finished the set, I went over to put it on the computer to start loading it. And about 60 seconds afterwards, I felt this dull ache. And it wasn't like a pump. It was through my entire tricep, not near the tendons either. All through that medial head and the long head. I'm like, well, that feels different. Well, it felt, it's just this dull ache kicked in. And it was kind of a unique feeling. I don't think I've felt that in my triceps before. Other than maybe something like a missed max bench or something that I failed the lockout. It was this interesting dull ache. I'm like, well, let me do a couple more sets of these and see if I can take them to failure. And I did. I pretty much took them to the end. And afterwards, it's kind of like I felt this unique ache all the way through my triceps. Like I'm worried I'm going to have DOMS tomorrow. In fact, I know I am. I'm like, I have found my new tricep exercise. And I don't feel anything near the elbow with the tendons where we're worried about that tendonitis. It's like, okay, good. And you shouldn't. Due to the biomechanics, it shouldn't have that stress on the tendon because of the way I treat them at the bottom. You notice that little bit of shoulder travel? And then the chain's deloading it slightly at the bottom. And then it gets heavier halfway up. So we can load it pretty heavy. This is going to improve my bench as far as tricep exercises go. Right? that is a solid exercise, and I felt it afterwards, and I still feel it now. It's this unique dull ache. Oh, I love this new exercise. I think it's really going to improve my bench. I think between that and the floor pressing, again, I'm really focusing on a little bit of volume on my floor press, grow my triceps with that. I think it's going to help my bench. And obviously we keep benching heavy. Then I did my laterals. I did 4 sets to failure. These felt pretty good today. And I just used the same weight. I picked a weight because I knew this is what I was going to use on laterals. That's what I did for the last few sets on those rollouts. But they were pretty much limit sets. So it probably put me in the range I wanted to be in. I'm going to eventually need to go heavier on those, though. I need to get strong at them. We've got to load them. Because we've got to be able to load these exercises. Especially one that's going to be a primary mover like the tricep on my bench. But the laterals, I've decided to do 4 sets. I need to make sure I get enough volume in to make sure that everything's growing. Again, I need more delts. That's the downside. Everyone's like, your delts do need more work relative to the rest of your torso. And it's like, guys, think about who I have to compete with. You guys are used to seeing guys on a gram of gear. Even if I have as much total muscle as some of the guys you're thinking of on the rest of my torso, it's about androgen receptors. And it's going to be really, really hard to compete with them. It doesn't mean I don't work the hell out of my delts. We're training delts because they're important for my bench press. Like, you need that stability. A strong shoulder girdle in general will give you a more stable platform to bench from. But when you're talking about those big round capped delts, unless I go back on a significant, at least a moderately decent amount of gear, I may not get that look. It just may not happen. I'm going to train them. I'm going to train them optimally or as close to as I can. But you guys got to keep in mind there's limits. There's limits. So I went ahead and just used that same weight, took 2 sets of hammer curls to failure. Interestingly enough, because I did a little rest pause the second set, I got more reps, I think. But that's all my biceps could handle. Biceps and my front delts and everything were trashed. Like, okay, I just wanted to get those 2 sets in, though, to make sure we hit enough training volume to get a good training response. Because we need to maximize growth everywhere. But overall, good workout. I'm happy with it. I love the new tricep exercise. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.